gentlemen, the first panel is going to be on the topic of addressable advertising, fast forward for platforms, brands, and the advertisers. So, reaching the right audience has always been a key challenge in marketing. Addressable advertising is changing, that is offering a way to connect businesses with consumers more directly and effectively. Traditional advertising often spreads resources too thinly, failing to engage the intended audience. So through data and technology, addressable advertising they target a specific audience, segments, making the marketing campaigns more effective and enhancing customer experience. In this panel, we will discuss addressable advertising, how it works, its benefits for marketers and consumers, and its role in transforming marketing and building experiences that matters. Ladies and gentlemen, we are extremely delighted to welcome our illustrious set of industry experts on stage as we set the stage for our panel. We are talking about the India Brand Summit. We are talking about the brands that associate on a very large level. And as I see that the stage is absolutely ready and set, how about this fantastic audience joins me in welcoming our panel members. Please put your hands together as we welcome Prasad Pimple, EVP and Head of Digital Business Unit, Kotak Life. A very warm welcome to you, Prasad. Please take a seat. Welcoming our next panel member, Saugata Bagchi, Global Head, Digital, Experiential and Content Marketing, Tata Communications. A very warm welcome to you. Please take a seat. Please take a seat, sir. Welcoming our next panel member, Aakash Mishra, AVP Group Brand Marketing, Donear Group. Very warm welcome to you. And welcoming our session chair, Parul Menghani, founder and CEO, Good Ants Media. So reminding our audience once again about the topic of discussion of this panel, addressable advertising, fast forward for platforms, brands and advertisers. It seems that our panel members are absolutely delighted, looking forward to a fantastic conversation, is it? All right, over to you, Parul. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I know exactly why you did that.
Just we didn't want one side to be too heavy. You know women power, right?
So yeah, I mean, if you look
three
at this
against
panel,
one, it's not balanced.
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to actually say that we were joking about this backstage and we said, look at our panel, it's an all-men panel. But don't worry, I'm here to add a lot of color and elegance and balance and also, I think, drive the conversation with all you gentlemen here, right? So super excited. This is the first panel of the day, no pressure. We're not at all taking the pressure, right? But we'll definitely set a good tone for the event, and I don't think that's a challenge because if you look at our panel, it's very diverse. I think great backgrounds each and every speaker on the stage has. So we'll just dive into it. Already we've understood what is addressable advertising, but in a very, very simple language, if I have to speak that, it is any brand, showing their ads to a specific ad to the right audience or to the right person bases their interest, their behavior, and not showing the same ad to everyone. I think that's, probably in a simple way we could say that, right? But it's not that simple. It is not, and you'll find out on this panel. I've got all my questions on my phone smartly. So I'm going to start with you, Saugata. So the first question that I have is, what are the challenges in aligning global and local marketing efforts through addressable advertising?
Okay, that's a great question. Thanks for putting that out. I think first thing that I would like to address is the difference and the similarities between addressable advertising and programmatic advertising, right? So addressable advertising is essentially a multimedia mode of communication to targeted communication to customers, of course, whereas programmatic is more about buy and sell and primarily focused on the digital medium, right? So while they do work in conjunction, there are certain nuances and differences because addressable would include connected TV, it will include OH, digital OH, and various other forms of other media that programmatic may or may not target depending on the kind of campaigns we're talking about. So I think that's something it's important to put on the table for everyone's benefit, right? Now, in terms of global and local marketing efforts, right? I think the first point one should keep in mind is the cultural nuances. What works in India may not work in, for example, Spain, right? And vice versa. The second thing would be, of course, the language barriers, right? So contextualization of messaging, and contextualization doesn't necessarily mean just translating English into Spanish or English into German, right? Keeping the nuances in mind and keeping those finer sensibilities, the cultural sensitivities in mind is also super critical. The third point would be the regulatory differences, right? So let's say a fast food brand would probably want to promote a certain line of their food items in India, which they would not promote elsewhere, or vice versa, right? So the cultural nuance is super critical. And then, of course, there are regulatory differences. There are certain things you can say in some markets and certain things which you can't. So being cognizant of them, especially from a global standpoint, and that's something we face, in at least my team deals with on a daily basis, given the nature of work that we do. And of course, the last but not the least is the data privacy concerns, right? So especially in markets where you need to be double GDPR compliant, whereas in some markets you're okay with, as long as you have one level of GDPR compliance, you're good to go. So basically, in a nutshell, as long as you're familiar with the law of the land, you're compliant with those laws of the land, you're compliant with the cultural sensitivities of the audiences whom you're talking to, and you're compliant with, in general, the language sensitivities and so on and so forth. I think it's pretty manageable.
Yeah, that was very detailed. I think a good start to our discussion. Prasad, my next question is to you, and also a very, very important question. How does a brand ensure that the precision of addressable advertising translates into measurable results? So conversions or policy signups, anything that leads to conversion. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
So any kind of marketing when we do, we have the measurable KPIs linked to it. That's how the marketing works. And it all depends upon what is your objective. Just to add to what you were saying, that even in case of addressable marketing, objective becomes far more important. If your objective is all about reaching to the audiences and not looking at the number of clicks you're getting or the number of website visits you're going to get out of it or the number of customers who are showing immediate interest, if that is not the objective, then going at the top of the funnel and just building the awareness score or the consideration score for the brand, that is also a measurable objective for the brand. So it all depends upon that one single factor. And when we look at any BFSI brand looks at, it's all the time about the full funnel. Because finally at the end of the day, everybody is obsessed with return on investment, ROI part of it. So from that particular, and with digital coming in, everything can get tracked now. Everything is measurable and everything becomes a target for the marketing team. That's how it works for any BFSI brands today. So when we look at the measurement, we look at it from the perspective of what is the objective. If I need to go top of the funnel, it is predominantly in terms of how much increase in my brand and awareness and consideration score is going up. That's number one. Number two would be how many organic traffic increase on my website is happening because of that particular thing. And with addressable marketing, important part is the relevant traffic coming to the website, not just any traffic. Because
repeat users also.
Correct. So that's the number one objective we look at it. When it comes to the second part, which is the mid funnel, that the people who have already visited our brand on website or anywhere else, or the customers who are already in market exploring the solutions. Let's assume Kotak Life, a life insurance solution as a customer I'm exploring. Getting to know about it, that this particular customer is already in the market, exploring a life insurance solution, how do we target them now? That becomes the objective and the KPI. That am I reaching to these audiences? And now the objective shifts, or the measurable KPI shifts from pure website visits to getting clicks, bringing customer to a lead form. because that's where the entire digital business journey starts. The exploration starts when customer comes on the page, start entering his or her details into it, and starts discovering the premium for the policy or the benefits of the policy. That's how we look at it. Then comes the complete bottom funnel, where he also mentioned about the retargeting part of it. So if you somebody is exploring you actively, the KPI is completely changed to finally how many active, relevant leads, eligible leads you are generating for your contact centers or for your field sales teams to work upon them and finally convert. So that's how we plan most of our addressable marketing activities with the KPIs in mind, depending upon the objective at that point of time. We always start mid funnel, then we go bottom funnel, and when we exhaust these two, we go top funnel and then start adding more audiences into it.
So retention is also equally important, right? Very interesting because it's a very strategic approach. Now, when there is strategy, it's a lot of planning that goes into it, right? It's a large percentage of planning, and then some of it is execution. Now, when you have so much strategy, and digital is a very dynamic space, right? How often does it happen? Because we see results instantly, right? We see signups instantly, we see drop-offs instantly. How often do you pivot? Like when you see a result, right? How often, and is a brand open to pivoting immediately? Because digital is really quick. So, I mean, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so with digital, everything gets measured, and if it is not meeting the KPI, we get to know about it in a week's time. We don't hurry to make the changes in the plan. We are not in a hurry to just make it for the sake of doing it. Many times we have observed most of the platforms take some time to warm up. Be it any platform, it doesn't happen that immediately you start hitting the right audiences. When you start doing the campaign, it happens that the customers are not eligible for your life insurance product because life insurance product has age as the entry limit as well as the income as the entry limit. It's not available to anybody and everybody. You end up getting a lot of customers because that information is not available with any of the platforms today. Surrogates are available, but information is not available. So a lot of time you optimize on the basis of the kind of audiences coming to you, and then you start doing the lookalike kind of a campaign just to optimize it further. So yes, we do pivot from one platform to another platform because digital experimentation, I would say 60% of the experiments end up failing. So we do change, but not in a week's time. We at least give a week's time for platform and audiences to come to a level where we can optimize it further.
Sure, sure. Really well said. Aakash, my next one is to you. I'll have to fully turn. No, that's fine. Thank you. That's really kind of you. Can addressable advertising help brands identify and nurture long-term customer relationships more effectively than the traditional methods that we're used to?
I mean, there's no denying. I think, let's take today. Half of them at the back, looking at their phones, little bored. Maybe they are getting targeted with the advertising that they have been looking for. Somebody searching for a sneaker and suddenly all the ads
Aakash
of
is
sneakers
watching
are
you
coming.
all, huh? Please.
Yeah, I've been watching, so I thought, let's wake everybody up. It's been a brilliant start to the day. Little delayed, of course. But, and I'm just a question, anybody of you has gone on a blind date? Blind dates? Oh, I see one hand. How was it? You don't know what to expect, right? Where a problem. Blind date is your traditional advertising. You throw a net, and then you see kuch phasta hai ki nahi usme. That's your traditional advertising with various mediums. What is addressable advertising? Because it's too mouthful, I want to call it targetology. So you're targeting people. So now next time you go on a date, you have your friend telling you, okay, this person I know, iska ye interest hai. She likes this. I mean, from my point of view, she likes this. She hates this restaurant. Maybe she'll like pasta. Maybe she'll like pizza. Now you're more confident going because you're going to the right person. And with information. That's what targeted advertising looks like. For Donear Group, we are a traditional company. We were rather. 40-year-old organization has bought over brands that are 100-year-old. OCM has celebrated 100 years this year. So it's the only brand that has seen World War I and World War II. And now looking at the Ukraine-Russia war. So it's there for 100 years. How do you go ahead and talk to people like today, if I say Donear, you'll be like, हाँ मेरे दादाजी पहनते थे या मेरे dad पहनते थे. How do I talk to you? So a targeted advertising or addressable advertising is not just about where to put the ad, but what you are putting. It's been about close to a year that I've been a part of this organization. And the easiest thing for anybody, I don't want to name my competitors, is to get a brand ambassador. सूट पहनाओ, चलाओ, उस पर आप लोगों किसका भी डाल दो. आप डॉनियर डालो, आप एक्स डालो, आप ए डालो, आप बी डालो, सब सेम लगता है. How do you change that? Why would you want to look at that? A Shah Rukh Khan walking with a suit, or now recently Ranbir Kapoor will walk in a suit. Milind Soman is walking in a suit. Thankfully, nobody is wearing a suit today. Otherwise, I would have been the odd man out. So what do you do? So when we launched Neo Stretch, it's a new brand of four-way stretch that we supply to a lot of big brands, internationally, UK, US, and to India. Half of the people wearing suits right now might be because of the Donear fabric. So what do you do? So what we did for Neo Stretch is, I said, forget the advertising. मुझे 5 साल के खुद ads याद दिए कौन सा है. Maybe except a Jio Dhandhanadhan because they spent so much money putting it in my head that I remember that. But I don't remember any other ad. So what we did is we decided, let's make a music track. A traditional company, MD gets up and says, क्या कर रहा है? Music क्यों करना है? I was like, just relax. If you've got me and paying me some money, let me do what I want to do. And just hang on. You've made money for 40 years, let me build a brand for 2. So we created a track with a positioning for Neo Stretch of Freedom to Move. That track we launched on YouTube, and we have put it into some 270 platforms, Apple, Amazon, YouTube Music, you can have a look. Hear the song. It's touching 12 million views right now. So what did we do? We have a track. The video doesn't have my brand mentioned. You don't see Neo Stretch as a logo throughout, but Freedom to Move as a track is picking up. We are ready with our new track right now. So what do we do now that we have a track? People are watching the music. I'm able to connect with somebody who might not even consider a fabric. So now Freedom to Move दिमाग में आ गया. कभी सूट बनाओगे तो ले लेना. मुझे ROI फिलहाल नहीं चाहिए. मैं brand build कर रहा हूँ. And once we did, we took IPL. We took the mobile phones. And with everybody, marketeers in the room who have dealt with OTT platforms, they'll come to you with 72 cohorts. Ye city, ye age, ye wo. I was like, that's okay. We'll pick up what we want. But I have some 2-3 lakh database numbers. It doesn't say it's your number, but I know it's somebody's number. And I wanted to target the trade. So my ads were running with my particular cohort each match. Plus to these 3 lakh people, they were only seeing Neo Stretch ad. So the trade was calling and saying, ये क्या आप लोगों ने क्या किया है? I mean, Tiger Shroff is a brand ambassador. मैंने उसका नंबर भी डाल दिया था. So Tiger was also seeing along with his family every second over a Neo Stretch ad. For me, that worked because the trade took notice. They're like, okay, the company is serious about it. They are pushing it. Let me push it. And consumers started taking notice. What is this Neo Stretch? And then we have a value retail called Decot. So अगर बैंगलोर में Neo Stretch चल रहा है, तो मैं जयपुर पे Decot चला रहा था, जहाँ पे stores हैं. So that ways, targeted advertising helps you understand किससे क्या बात करनी है. If I have to talk to you, I know what you like. If I have to talk to him, I know what he likes. अगर मैं generally बात करूँगा, तो after 2 minutes you'll say, okay, excuse me, I'm getting a call and you move out. So that's the magic of targeted advertising, and if done right, it works well. I mean, you hate data privacy, पर तुम लोग ने सब लोगों ने ना वो accept button दबाया था terms and conditions पे. So nobody can blame anybody. So that's what addressable advertising does for us.
Very well said. I think you've simplified it. And the blind date actually worked very well for everybody, I'm sure.
Jargons नहीं समझ में आते मुझे.
नहीं, काफ़ी simplified था. So that's really, really good. Saugata, I have the next one for you. I think we earlier discussed a bit about global local marketing, right? The next question I have for you is, how does precision of addressable advertising benefit global brands in a diverse market?
See, I spoke about cultural sensitivity, right?
Yeah.
So cultural sensitivity helps a lot because with the kind of data sets that we have to work with, and if you're being cultural sensitive, especially being a brand not belonging or originating from that country where you're marketing yourselves, I think it brings in a certain sense of respect for the brand. The effort shows, that they're going that extra mile and not peddling one size fits all messaging to everybody, right? So that's one. Second is with the right kind of language localization that I spoke about earlier. This helps here as well, right? It again basically it shows the effort of the brand trying to connect with the consumer at a level at which they are comfortable, right? So that effort actually shows, and I've personally seen in my experience in this company that it helps connect with the right audiences at the right with the right frame of mind, right? Because end of the day, there's only a certain level of differentiation that you can create. After that, what you're selling is a service, right? And especially for companies like mine, where we are very horizontal in the nature of our services, right? These differentiations actually come in handy. The next thing that it helps you do is actually penetrate the market very efficiently. And I'm using the word efficiently with a lot of importance here. Because penetrating the market, say for example, would be different for the BFSI industry or for the industry that he spoke about. But for us, penetrating the market means it's not about getting across to thousands of customers or thousands of accounts or companies, but it's about getting to the right people within those companies, right? So if you're able to penetrate the right market with the kind of efforts that are showing, connect with them at an intellectual level, at an emotional level, right? That's when the actual connections are made and transactions actually are enabled. So I think especially for a brand like ours, which is proudly Indian, originating in India, operating as a challenger in markets like the US and UK and APAC and other such markets where they're well-established local players, the same context that we have in India for ourselves. Taking these small efforts with on the back of the data that we have, using the right mediums, be it connected TV, be it out of home, be it any other medium that works in that particular market, gives us that extra push, that extra mile, and at the same time is also dollar efficient. Right? You're not spraying and praying. Yeah, you're not spraying and praying, right? And as you rightly said, over a period of time, you get to know which platform behaves in which way, what's the content consumption habit, which kind of messaging customized to a particular platform with the right A/B tests actually helps you drive the better mileage or get the higher mileage out of the messaging. So I think that's how, I hope you have understood.
You have. I wanted to highlight one thing that I'm observing in all of your responses, right? Whether the ads, the way we are targeting, who we're targeting to. I think one thing that's really important is building that relatability, right? So when you're global or local, we're constantly hearing this on the panel saying that you have to do something that the folks in that particular region will relate to, right?
Yeah,
and target.
Yeah, otherwise, you'll hit a blind spot, right? If everybody is bombarding you with the same messages, after a point, you'll hit a blind spot. And that's what, for example, happens in the IPL. Right? Yeah. So how do we, like you said, Jio Dandanadan? It's obviously a message, an outcome of the frequency of that which the ad was broadcasted. But also there was a certain catchiness to it, which kind of resonated with us at an emotional level, and that's why you brought it up so many years after it was aired, right? So those nuances are super critical.
So I think one thing that's because it's a lot of strategy and focus strategy, right? I think one thing that's really important is technology. So Aakash, I have my next question to you. How can brands use technology to streamline its marketing efforts, ensuring campaigns reach decision makers more importantly, right? And at the right time and on the right platform. So it's back to you on focusing and targeting.
It's a crazy question, rather. Anybody? Okay, the front row. Are you married? You, yeah.
There are like 4 people there. Who are you?
Imagine.
He looks happy, man.
Opening a phone right now and you said, you get an ad saying 10% off on diapers. अब देखो कल रात का बिरयानी गरम करने को नहीं आता माइक्रोवेव में तुमको डाइपर का ऐड देख के क्या मिलेगा So that's what when it comes, how do you reach the right audience at the right time? You have to figure out who you're talking to. Like if Diljit concert le lo, Coldplay le lo. 3-4 days ago, I was in a place called Sangli. No disrespect. But I did not think that I'll be in Sangli. Just trying to understand whether these fabrics that maybe is something that is not picked up in metros, what happens in tier 2, 3, 4? There was an event there and we were a part of it. So I had 2 people with me. One of my colleagues is right here. He was the one on the phone throughout. And I had no idea for what. And I like, why are you not focusing on the event. The other one was the organizer. So he comes to me saying, I am 7 lakh in the line for a ticket. I'm like, for what? He's like, Coldplay tickets have gone live. I said, brilliant. So 18 sold out.
It's fully sold out.
19 sold out. Then they put 21 sold out. So they knew even if he's in Sangli, you have to target him because he's going to die for a ticket. The organizer on the other, I said, Coldplay tickets are out. Nobody is getting Coldplay tickets. He's like, who is Coldplay? So if I start advertising and targeting him for Coldplay or Diljit, I'm already on the wrong side. That's what happens even with IPL. When you have too much money, you'll put everywhere. But I know who I have to target. ये मेरा कपड़ा बेचेगा, ये वाला खरीदेगा. I have these people. Can I target them? And with AI, with OTT, with social media, Instagram, Facebook, everything. I mean, your life is gone. They know what you do. They know 5 बजे तेरे को भूख लगेगी तो Zomato एक ad भेज देगा saying, are you hungry? Do you need food right now? Here is a 10% off discount coupon. So this is how addressable advertising is working today. We are not realizing, but it's everywhere. I am a sneakerhead. I must have browsed some site for a sneaker. Now my entire timeline looks like a Nike store. And I don't want to buy Nike. I like Reebok. They have better designs. So that's why I'm saying that once you understand who your customers are, they will be after you. And then they will come back to you. And they know when to target me. They know at night, 1 o'clock, when I'm not sleepy, I'll browse for a shoe. So I know the ads are coming at that time. So this is how you reach the right audience at the right time. Kharida, nahi kharida, it's up to them, right? But then they build this relation. They know that you love biryani. Every Friday, 5 o'clock, you will have, hello, what's your name? Hello, Mohan, here's a 10% off on biryani. So that is what it is. I mean, I think today all the apps know us better than we do. I don't know what I'm going to do on a Saturday, but everybody is planned for me.
The apps
Here is your
remind
ticket.
you.
Yeah, here's your ticket. Go attend a concert or a stand-up. So this is the power of addressable advertising, and it is here to stay. If you have the right data. With the wrong data, I will still end up selling you diapers. But with the right data, maybe I'll say, okay, you worked very hard. Policy bahut ho gayi. Let's go for a pub treat with your friends today. So if you have the right data and you know how to use it with AI and the machine learning and everything, it's evolving every second, then you're on the right track. And it's not only for your big budgets. Not everybody who has 50, 100 crores of advertising budget. IPL mein, the amount of money that I put, I can't even disclose because then you will be like, ye kaise karaya? It was minuscule. But for the entire trade, I was the king. Ki, yare, aapne itne ad chala diye. It's doing well. People are knowing about it. So it's for everybody who knows how to utilize it well.
Excellent. Not to make anybody jealous here, but I was very smart to go for the Coldplay concert in Bangkok in February, so I'm sorted. So I didn't miss this time, and I didn't have to be in that 1 lakh, 2 lakh queue. But yeah, very well said. I think very well explained once again. Prasad, I have the next one for you. With the rise of content, the rise of on-demand content, right? How can brands use addressable advertising to ensure that both advertisers and audiences are getting relevant and timely content? And you can also talk a bit more about the kind of content.
See, today, gone are the days when we used to make the content on the basis of demographics, basis the culture, what you talked about. The biggest challenge in today's digital economy is the preference of consuming the content is also changing a lot, correct? When it comes to like, we all are driven by our own beliefs, our own behavior and our own choices. So when it comes to my content consumption, I generally like the content which is data driven, correct? Let's assume when it comes to Aakash, he might be liking the content which is very emotional. Not data driven, but emotional, which is appealing to him on an emotional level. And let's take your example that you might be wanting a communication which is more about video-based communication, which is not even a textual communication at all. I don't want to read, correct? I don't want to read and understand and then take the action. So these behavioral changes are driving today the most of the content consumption. Whether it is on demand or whatever is pushed to the customers. it's all about what I believe and what I like. It has become more personalized. If I am more into data and I like a text-based communication, getting a very emotional pitch might not appeal to me, though my demographics are similar. So our entire focus today is to start understanding these behaviors of the customers, that what kind of personality that customer has. So we have devised a small questionnaire for our existing customer database what we have, and we have started understanding what type of customers are predominantly purchasing our products today, just to get the understanding. And those understandings what we are currently using into our content marketing perspective. And we started realizing slowly that there are two appeals which are working well with our customers. One is which is very emotional, and second one is which is very factual, infographic based, data oriented. That's what people like. And that's where the entire driving mechanism comes. But delivering this kind of content across platform, today it is not available. We all struggle with getting this information outside our ecosystem on the platform. That's where the entire challenge what we face. Though the technology, the way it has got integrated on media side, to our own campaign management tool, to our CRM, everything coming together from the data analytics perspective and triggering basis the data, this consumer behavior is currently not getting captured anywhere on any of the platforms. Currently it is getting restricted to only the customers we know. But that's where our entire objective is to move forward to make the content which will appeal to that particular consumer, not because of his demographics, not because of his the tier his city is staying into. He talked about Sangli, the Coldplay. The aspirations are similar. My aspirations are not changing basis my location. My aspirations are not changing basis my age. The Coldplay ticket, when there were so many WhatsApp group, people were posting it. Yeah, so all those things, what is happening predominantly, that across age groups, people were looking for that ticket. Yeah, a lot of people have never heard about Coldplay as a singer, correct? But they were still...
Yeah, I mean, I asked somebody, are you such a big fan of Steve? He's like, who's Steve?
Correct.
I'm like, so it's like, it's a herd mentality. अरे ये सब हो रहा है मुझे भी चाहिए.
Correct. So
Some people are buying to resell.
Correct. So they were not aware about the singers of the band, but they were purchasing it out of FOMO, the fear of missing out, that if a tier 1 person can have that experience, why can't I have that experience? That aspiration as well as the FOMO was coming together, and hence the content has to get customized to those emotions as well, which we are currently not capturing on any of the digital marketing platforms. But with the advent of AI, I think slowly that will start happening. We'll have those feeds, which is archetype of the customer, which is a layer about the demographics. That's where the entire magic of content will start happening.
So, I mean, we're a content company, and I've been creating content for years now. And I think we're like speaking the language that really, for the people that, are behind the scenes and creating that content, it's pretty much the same formula. Like every time we need to create content, I specifically look at the 3 R's, and I constantly quote this in all of, the speakership opportunities that I get, is relatability, relevance, and real. So we keep the content, we have to tick mark all these 3 R's. And I think when we do that, we default build aspiration as well. So I think you very well put this, where you're saying build aspiration and also make it relatable. So they say, hey, that's like me. That's what I want to be as well, with the aspiration angle. I think very well said. Anything you want to add, Saugata, to this?
No, I think whether it is, I think one point I would probably want to add is predictive analytics. Right? Now, like I said in the beginning, addressable advertising is independent yet related to programmatic, right? And because we have first-party data of, as against programmatic, because we have first-party data of content consumption habits, as well as choices being made, all right? As a brand, one has the opportunity to actually delve into predictive analytics, and depending on the segment we are operating in, take initiatives, sometimes test them out, but take initiatives which predict the behavior of the audience that we are targeting, right? Now, this may be done in terms of smaller cohorts, or this may be done at a broader, much larger scale, but predictive analytics is something that, again, I have considered, it's worked for me, it's worked for my team, and I would urge everybody in the room, as and when you get an opportunity, do think about it and do try it.
Sure, I think very relevant. Saugata, I want to ask you one more thing. I think extremely important to now understand the transparency bit, and a bit about, what all we need to keep in mind. So what are the best practices, that are in place to ensure transparency and trust in personalized advertising? Because I think you just gave that disclaimer saying, hey guys, I'm showing you this because you actually press the accept button, right? That's just one of the things. So could you kind of give us more clarity and details on this?
See, I think transparency is a two-way street, right? So the best way of course, transparency has to start with the service providers, to the brand and vice versa. And at the end of the day, it's about keeping the customer at the center of your decision making, right? So transparency in terms of, it can be looked at in terms of the dollar exchanges between the service provider and the brand. That's one angle. The second is the kind of messaging that we are putting out, keeping those sensibilities. And I spoke about cultural nuances, I spoke about language localization and so on and so forth. So transparency has a role to play there as well. And last but not the least, I think transparency also comes in when you're not being invasive. It may not be very what do you call, self-explanatory in that sense, but transparency has a lot to do with not being invasive, right? As a brand, if you're promoting yourself as somebody who's customer first and is out there to solve a customer problem, at the same time you're being invasive, it kind of...
Then you can't get the trust. I think
you will never get the trust, right? So transparency, trust, it all I think goes hand in hand, and it translates. That's the 3 R's that you said. I think it also translates in the three points that I just made. It's between the brand and the service provider. It's between the brand and the customer. And at the end of the day, because the service provider is the collector of the data, it's also between the service provider and the customer. So that's how.
So Mohan, you would be okay with the biryani ad popping? That's not intrusive, right? Just reminding you, you need to order biryani tonight. It's Friday.
I have a little thing to add to what he said. I was reading about a case study. I can't remember the name of the insurance company, but they used targeted advertising. But when they were sending it, they were very open about saying, you had visited this mall and we have collected your data. I think Mahindra does it a lot. वो तो कहीं पे भी पकड़ लेंगे आपको. But they said that you have visited this mall, you showed interest, so we are sending this to you. That campaign, according to the case study, worked wonders for them, and they sold 40% more policies. So talking about policies, I thought I'll just bring it up.
Normally that happens. The one more additional point to it is transparency or trust you build when you tell people why you are collecting the information. That's the most important thing. In fact, as a part of our journey, every field we capture, because life insurance policy is not an easy thing to purchase online for the customers. You seek a lot of information, correct? Right from their health information, their financial information, everything gets captured as a part of the application form. Now when customers are doing it, for every field we give them the reason that why we are asking for this information, where we are going to use it. I think that gives a lot of confidence to the customers that yes, brand is not taking the unwanted data just for the sake of it, because anyway they are collecting so much of information.
Yeah, so I mean, you're not blindsided कि आके कौन मार रहा है. At least they know क्यों मार रहा है. So that's a good thing you guys are doing.
I think he's saying pooch ke marna is okay. So I think I'm absolutely, I'm a online shopaholic and I'm just publicly accepting that. But I've realized that every time I'm on an app, I'll get this pop-up saying, select this for us to make your experience better so that we push relevant things to you. And I think I always sign up for that because I'm like, it's going to save me time. I don't want to go through a flood of things that are not relatable, relevant, or real for me, right? So I'm very happy signing up, and I totally understand where you're coming from, being on the other side as a customer in that case, yeah? Are we on time? I just want to check. Nobody's interrupted us. We're going pretty smooth. So then let me just quickly put the last question. Thank you, Saugata. What roles, and anybody can answer because we'll just quickly focus on the customer for a short bit, right? What role does the customer behavior data play in refining these marketing strategies for better engagement? If you could take a slightly different angle on this.
So I'll go first. I think I'll bring in the aspect of personalized communication. We have touched upon it. So customer behavior data helps us personalize. The example that you just gave, right, is a classic example of right personalization. So if you're able to personalize the communication, it saves the customer time. It aids them in making the right decisions at the right point in time. And also it helps them, sometimes I feel, escape the buyer's guilt, which gets them to make repeat purchases for the brand.
I mean, with IPL only, I mean, I was watching it on my phone, and there's another phone in the room. So I was getting served my ads because I ended up giving my number. But my wife was getting ads for a car. And so they knew what she might be looking for in the same room, sitting next to each other on two phones, because I wanted to see mere ad aa rahe hain ki nahi. And that's how it is. Like a Hyundai might run a campaign for an SUV in Bombay, but at the same time, it's talking about a small car in some P town or tier 2 town. So that's how it is. You have to understand your audience, who might be looking for what, and you serve, and then it's up to them whether they end up considering you. Forget the purchase.
You're at least showing them the right
Yeah.
thing.
Purchase is only when Flipkart sends you, here's a voucher, buy a t-shirt.
Correct.
Here's this, buy that.
So they were showing you shoe ads.
No, I mean, no, none of them spend on OTT anymore. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so from my perspective, the customer behavior, the most important is come to the point fast. Yes. That's what the customers are today asking for. Absolutely. They are not saying anything else. So if I want to build the interest for a life insurance product, we predominantly tell customer that you pay this much, you get this much. That's the kind of transaction level what we have started going to today. This is the customer behavior because customers are telling us that, okay, come to the point fast.
Excellent. So it's like, tell me what I want to hear, right? And save that. On that note, I think it's been a brilliant conversation, very insightful. Thank you so much for making this panel so fun. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much. We had a great time listening to your insights. I hope you all had a great time as well. May I request you all to please come a little ahead and join in for a group photo op. We are absolutely thankful and delighted for having such a fantastic panel discussion that we all just experienced. May I request all the panel members, look in the camera, give us a nice smile so we can capture the moments for lifetime.